Look at the people you went to school with, the ones who weren't as smart or talented as you, who are now miles ahead in life. You think you are just lazy, don't you? You're not. Your brain is actively paralyzing your potential to protect your identity. Let me explain the biological glitch that is quietly ruining your life. There is a very specific type of pain that comes from doing absolutely nothing. It is not the sharp, stinging pain of failure. When you try something and fail, it hurts, but at least there is closure. You know where you stand, you gather your data, and you move on. But the pain of wasted potential is different. It is a quiet, dull ache. It is a persistent, heavy hum in the background of your mind that constantly whispers, "You are running out of time, and you haven't even started." You sit there, scrolling through your phone, looking at people who sat next to you in class. People who struggled with concepts you understood instantly. People who didn't have your natural talent, your vocabulary, or your quick mind. Yet, there they are. They are getting promoted, they are starting businesses, they are building lives that look suspiciously like the one you always assumed you would have by now. And what are you doing? You are standing perfectly still. You are trapped inside your own head, analyzing every possible move, overthinking every single scenario until the anxiety forces you to just shut down and do nothing at all. If you relate to this, I need you to listen to me very carefully. This is not laziness. Laziness is choosing to do nothing and feeling perfectly fine about it. You do not feel fine. You feel an agonizing, quiet shame. You feel like a fraud. You feel like a rough draft of a human being that is never going to be published, hoarding all this ability inside yourself while the world simply passes you by. For many of you, this invisible prison was built a long time ago. It started with a compliment. When you were younger, parents, teachers, and relatives probably looked at you and used words like gifted, brilliant, or said you had so much potential. At the time, it felt like a blessing. But as you grew older, that word, potential, stopped being a compliment and started becoming a debt. A massive, unpayable debt you felt you owed to the world, to your family, and to yourself. When you are told your whole life that you are meant for great things, the baseline for success becomes impossibly high. Being average is no longer acceptable. Making mistakes is no longer just a part of learning. It feels like a fatal flaw in your entire identity. So, what does your brain do to protect you? It makes you avoid anything where you cannot guarantee an immediate, perfect result. You shrink your world. You stop taking risks. You choose the absolute certainty of doing nothing over the terrifying possibility of trying your absolute hardest and discovering that you might just be ordinary. You aren't lazy. You are paralyzed by the ghost of who you were supposed to be. Let's stop talking about your feelings for a second and look at the actual hardware inside your head. Society has conditioned you to believe that procrastination is a character flaw, a sign of weakness, a lack of discipline. But if we put you in an fMRI machine the exact moment you think about starting that big project you've been putting off, your brain wouldn't look lazy. It would look terrified. When you sit down to finally work on your goals, you aren't just facing a task, you are facing the possibility of failure. And to a brain that has tied its entire worth to being naturally smart or full of potential, failure isn't just disappointing, it is a literal threat to your psychological survival. This triggers what neuroscientists call an amygdala hijack. Your amygdala, the primitive alarm system in your brain, cannot tell the difference between a physical predator in the wild and a psychological threat to your ego. So, when you open that blank document or look at that application form, your brain floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. It screams, "Danger! If we do this and it's not perfect, we lose our identity. People will know we aren't that smart." Your nervous system instantly goes into a freeze response. You aren't procrastinating. You are a deer caught in the headlights of your own towering expectations. And what do you do when your nervous system is completely overwhelmed by this invisible, crushing threat? You look for an escape hatch. This is where the endless doom scrolling comes in. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit. I want you to realize something. You do not scroll for hours because you are entertained. You scroll because you are self-medicating. It is a numbing mechanism. Every time you swipe, you get a tiny, cheap hit of dopamine. It is not enough to make you genuinely happy, but it is just enough to quiet the anxiety for 3 seconds at a time. Doing this for hours causes a dopamine baseline crash. You are burning out your brain's reward center on things that don't matter, leaving you with absolutely zero chemical drive to pursue the things that do. You are not addicted to your phone. You are running away from the agonizing pressure of your own potential, and your phone just happens to be the most accessible hiding spot. This brings us to the biggest lie you tell yourself to justify the delay: perfectionism. You probably wear your perfectionism like a badge of honor. You tell yourself and others, "I just have really high standards. I'm waiting for the right time." Let me be brutally honest with you. Perfectionism is not a standard of excellence. It is a trauma response. It is a heavy, suffocating shield you built to ensure no one can ever criticize you. If you only release work that is flawless, or if you wait for the perfect, stress-free time to start, you are safe from judgment. But the biological cost of this defense mechanism is total, absolute paralysis. Your brain has brilliantly calculated that it is physically safer to do nothing and remain a flawless genius with potential in your own head than to take action and risk becoming a flawed reality in the real world. So, take a deep breath. Let go of the heavy guilt you have been carrying around. Forgive yourself for the days, months, or years you feel you have wasted. Because what you are experiencing is not a moral failing. It is a biological glitch. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do: protect you from pain. It is just protecting you from the wrong thing. Now that we understand the biological glitch keeping you frozen, we need to address the psychological lie you are actively defending. We need to talk about imposter syndrome, but not the version you usually read about. Usually, imposter syndrome is described as achieving something great and feeling like you don't deserve it, feeling like you somehow tricked everyone into thinking you are competent. But for the person paralyzed by their own potential, imposter syndrome operates in reverse. It attacks you before you even begin. It is not a reaction to success. It is a defense mechanism designed to protect a very fragile, very specific identity, the identity of being smart. Let's look at this closely. If your entire sense of self-worth is built on the idea that you are naturally gifted, that you have this immense, untapped potential, then actually attempting to use that potential is the most dangerous thing you could possibly do. Why? Because it introduces the possibility of a definitive limit. Think about it. If you never write that book, never start that business, or never apply for that position, you get to live in a comfortable, safe fantasy. In that fantasy, your potential is infinite. You can sit in your room, look at someone else's success on a screen, and quietly tell yourself, "I could have done that if I really tried. I just haven't tried yet." As long as you don't take action, your perfect image remains completely intact. But the moment you actually try, the moment you give something 100% of your effort, your focus, and your time, you risk a terrifying discovery. You risk discovering that your 100% might not be as groundbreaking as you thought. You risk finding out that you are not a hidden genius destined for effortless greatness, but just a normal, average human being who has to struggle, fail, and look foolish to get ahead. So, you choose not to play the game at all. You subconsciously sabotage your own efforts. You wait until the absolute last minute to do things so that if the work is mediocre, you have a built-in psychological excuse. Well, I rushed it. It wasn't my best effort. You are terrified of giving it your all and finding out that your all is just ordinary. This is the imposter defense mechanism. You are not actually afraid of failure. You are afraid of exposure. You are actively choosing the miserable certainty of stagnation over the terrifying risk of being average. But I want to offer you a perspective shift right now. One that might sting at first, but will ultimately set you free. It is time to let go of the word potential, because the brutal, undeniable truth is this: unused potential does not actually exist. It is a ghost. It is a comforting story you tell yourself to feel better about standing still. Potential is not a battery of stored energy waiting inside you to be unleashed. It is just imagination. Until it is converted into action, it is entirely fictional. The person who is less naturally talented than you, but who is out there failing, learning, making a fool of themselves and trying again, is not wasting their potential. They are building it. Meanwhile, you are guarding an empty vault. You have to ask yourself a very difficult question. Are you willing to spend the rest of your life protecting an illusion of greatness? Or are you ready to step into the messy, flawed, and very real world of being a beginner? Let's talk about the timeline. There is a very specific kind of grief that hits you on your birthday, on New Year's Eve, or when you see someone 5 years younger than you achieve the exact thing you wanted. It is the crushing, suffocating realization of lost time. You look back at the last 3, 5, or 10 years and think, what do I actually have to show for it? You feel like you are standing alone at the starting line of a race that everyone else finished hours ago. If you are 25, 30, or 40 years old, the thought of starting from scratch doesn't just feel difficult, it feels deeply humiliating. Your internal monologue is brutal. It tells you, I should have been successful by now. I should have figured this out a decade ago. This is a cognitive trap known as the sunk cost fallacy, applied directly to your own existence. You are so intensely fixated on the years you feel you have already wasted that your brain convinces you to throw away the decades you have left, simply because the math of starting late feels unfair. Because you feel so painfully behind, you do something even more destructive to your future. You fall victim to a psychological phenomenon called temporal discounting. Because you are late, your ego demands a massive, immediate victory to justify the delay and make up for the lost time. You refuse to take small, gradual, clumsy steps because small steps feel incredibly inadequate when you believe you are a decade behind schedule. You want an overnight transformation. You tell yourself you are just waiting for the perfect, flawless moment to launch a massive project that will instantly catapult you to where you should be. But that perfect moment never arrives. The irony is agonizing. Your desperate, frantic desire to catch up immediately is the exact mechanism keeping you completely paralyzed in the present. You are comparing your messy, unwritten Chapter 1 to someone else's heavily curated Chapter 20. But here is the cold, grounding truth you need to accept today. The timeline is a complete illusion. There is no cosmic schedule you are failing to meet. The only thing you are failing is an arbitrary, invisible deadline you absorbed from a society that literally profits off your anxiety. I want you to pause and really absorb this next thought. If you want to completely rewire your brain and change the trajectory of your life, it is going to take time. It might take 5 long years to build the career, the business, or the peace of mind you actually want. And your immediate reaction might be to panic. You might think, 5 years? But I'll be 35 by then, or 40, or 50. Yes, you will be. But here is the undeniable, liberating reality. The time will pass anyway. 5 years from now, you are going to be 5 years older, no matter what you do today. You can either be 35 and finally living the reality you bravely built, or you can be 35, sitting in the exact same spot you are right now, still wishing you had started 5 years ago. The choice is yours. So, how do we actually fix this? We understand that the timeline is an illusion. We know that your brain is simply trying to protect you from the pain of exposure. But insight without action is just intellectual entertainment. It is time to step out of the theoretical and into the practical. We have to rewire the hardware. You cannot logic your way out of a biological freeze response. You cannot sit in your room and simply think your way into becoming a different person. You have to act your way into it. To do that, we are going to use a 3-step behavioral framework I call the Rewiring Protocol. Step 1 is imperfect execution. Right now, your amygdala is hijacking your nervous system because the stakes of starting feel incredibly high. If the expectation is that your first attempt must be a masterpiece, of course you are going to be paralyzed. So, we are going to lower the stakes to absolute zero. Your new assignment is to intentionally create garbage. If you want to write a book, you are going to sit down and purposefully write the most cliché, terrible page of dialogue imaginable. If you want to start a YouTube channel, you are going to record a video on your phone with awful lighting, terrible audio, and you are not going to publish it. You have to teach your nervous system that producing something flawed will not kill you. Right now, your brain equates imperfection with death. You have to prove it wrong through physical evidence. When you lower the expectation from genius to absolute trash, the fear evaporates, the pressure releases, and suddenly, you are moving. Step 2 is identity uncoupling. You have to perform a surgical separation between your self-worth and the outcome of your work. For your entire life, you have operated under the heavy, exhausting belief that I am what I achieve, or worse, I am the potential I possess. I need you to mourn the death of the gifted kid. That kid is gone. Let them go. They served you well in childhood, but they are ruining your adulthood. From this exact moment forward, You are a worker, a laborer in your own life. Think about a carpenter. When a carpenter builds a chair and one of the legs is a little bit wobbly, he does not have an existential crisis about his inherent value as a human being. He doesn't question his right to exist. He just sands down the leg. You need to treat your goals like a wobbly chair. Stop making your work a profound mirror of your soul and start treating it as a mechanical skill you are simply trying to acquire. Step 3 is microdosing effort. We have to fix your dopamine baseline. Because you feel so far behind, you are currently trying to jump from zero motivation to executing a massive 5-year master plan in a single afternoon. That is neurobiologically impossible. Your brain will reject it. Instead, you are going to start microdosing your effort. I do not want you to work on your dream for 4 hours today. I want you to work on it for 5 minutes. That is it. Set a physical timer. When the 5 minutes are up, you stop. Even if you feel a sudden burst of motivation and want to keep going, you stop. Why? Because you are not just trying to get work done. You are trying to rebuild self-trust. For years, you have made massive, dramatic promises to yourself. I'm going to change my life tomorrow. And you have broken them every single time. Your brain no longer believes you. By committing to just 5 minutes and actually stopping when you say you will, you give your brain a tiny, undeniable hit of natural dopamine. You prove to your subconscious that you are finally capable of keeping a promise to yourself. Over a few weeks, those 5 minutes naturally become 10, then 20, then an hour. You aren't forcing motivation anymore. You are slowly, methodically rebuilding the chemical pathways in your brain that allow motivation to exist in the first place. You don't need a sudden surge of superhuman discipline. You just need to lower the stakes, detach your ego, and give yourself permission to take one clumsy, imperfect step into the dirt. We have covered the science, the psychology, and the strategy. But to truly break free from this paralysis, there is one final, profound shift in perspective you have to make. We need to talk about the absolute liberation of being average. For your entire life, you have carried this massive, invisible backpack filled with the expectations of parents, teachers, and most heavily, yourself. You have walked around believing that you owe the universe a masterpiece. You believe that because you are smart, your life must be extraordinary, and anything less is a tragic failure. Let me give you the most beautifully relieving truth you will ever hear. The world does not care about your potential. No one is sitting around waiting for you to prove your genius. People are entirely consumed by their own anxieties, their own lives, and their own feeling of being behind. They are not monitoring your timeline. That harsh, blinding spotlight you feel beating down on you, judging you for not living up to your promise, you are the only one holding it, and you are completely allowed to turn it off. There is a profound, breathtaking freedom in finally accepting that you are just a regular, flawed human being. When you give yourself permission to be average, when you allow yourself to be a clumsy, awkward beginner, you immediately strip away the suffocating terror of having to be perfect. Right now, there is a quiet war going on inside your head between two versions of you. There is the fantasy you, the one who never makes mistakes, who achieves massive success effortlessly, who started 10 years ago, and who exists purely in your imagination. And then there is the real you, the one who is tired, who is a little bit lost, who is scared, but who is actually breathing and alive today. The fantasy you is a tyrant. It is demanding, cruel, and it is actively strangling the real you. If you want to actually live your life, you have to let that fantasy you die. You have to grieve the loss of that perfect, effortless future you always imagined, so you can finally participate in the messy, unpredictable reality of today. You do not have to be a prodigy. You do not have to make up for a decade of lost time by tomorrow morning. You just have to be willing to take one step forward, quietly and imperfectly, right exactly where you are. Your potential is not a debt you owe the world. It is not a moral obligation. It is simply an option. And it is time to cash it in, as messy, awkward, and imperfect as it is. Because a flawed, stumbling reality will always be infinitely more beautiful than a perfect illusion. If this video helped you finally make sense of your own mind, please subscribe to the channel. We are building a space here focused on deep, honest psychology, not just surface-level motivation. And before you go, I want you to make a commitment right now. Leave a comment below and tell me, Which chapter of this video hit you the hardest? And what is the one completely imperfect thing you are going to do today for just 5 minutes? I read every single comment. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.